For over 30 years, disabled people in Ireland have been receiving a mobility allowance and motorised transport grant. But in February this year, it was announced the scheme, in its present form, would end.
The government had given no indication that it was going to scrap the mobility allowance.
We have agonised over this decision.
They're hurting these people with disability.
And don't work too hard.
They're the most vulnerable in our society.
It doesn't enable us to get out and work. It's nice to have an extra income coming in.
That's it. That's it. They don't know what vulnerable is, but I know. I have to live with it. That's it, Tom.
Late last week, the government postponed an expected June decision to autumn. Almost 5,000 claimants worry about what will replace the current funding.
The monies allocated are not being withdrawn. They are being ring-fenced.
The threat of its removal has had a drastic psychological impact already.
I love being with my wife, doing things, getting out. That's something that we don't want the government to take away from us.
Mind your heels, hon. You get battered.
Let us live our lives independently. It's a mobility allowance and that's what it's there for.
Morning, sir.
This is what I use to pick up things off the floor. It's called an easy reach, but there's a knack to picking them up. An essential tool for somebody who's in a wheelchair, basically for me, like me, because everybody drops about 1,000 things a day.
Sharon Colgan lives in the small coastal village of Rosslare Harbour, 20 kilometres from Wexford town.
I'm 42 now, even though I don't look it, people say. But growing up, I had a great life. I had an absolute fantastic life. I love people. I'm a people's person. I'm heading into my little hall and to my specially adapted bathroom. In here, you'll find I have a lower toilet, which you can see now in a second, a shower that I sit in. We're now going to face into the bedroom. You'll see the orthopaedic bed behind me. I've worked most of my life. I've been very lucky. I worked in 11850. I was one of the operators in there. I worked as the receptionist of the Irish Sports Council. Loved it. It's small, but it's compact, and the best thing of all, I can live independently in this house.
Today I'm in Adrian's cab on the way into Wexford town. I have to do a bit of shopping, then on my way back I have to call into my local GP.
9 years ago, Sharon was in a car crash that put her in a wheelchair and ended her work life. She now supports herself with a €195 weekly social welfare payment. Travel is facilitated by a monthly mobility allowance of €208. It covers one round trip to Wexford town per week.
In and out, you're looking at 50 quid. And I'm living in the outskirts of Wexford, but the public transport, I mean, you're not going to get the big buses to come down here. I'm lucky in a way because there is a wheelchair taxi in Wexford. Happy out, really.
Every morning now we have to sling Tom out of the bed. Go on, Tommy. All right. Some mornings now you could hear a few words that you wouldn't want to hear when he's not feeling the best.
17-year-old soccer enthusiast Tom Winters is the youngest of 8 children living in Trim, County Meath.
You want that back anymore, Tom? Yeah. What did you think of Barcelona last night, anyway?
Crap. Barcelona, don't like them.
No. Tom was born a fine child, and he walked, but he's slow to walk, and he's only for his mother. His mother had it in her, there was something wrong, and kept, even though we were told he had flat feet. That's his hand, he's up. He's up. He was diagnosed with Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and then he lost the power of the legs.
Hey, Elise.
Give me a blanket over there, look.
Where's your blankie, Liz? I'm still studying at the moment, so hopefully I'll do well in that. I plan to go to college and do some sort of business course or that. What are you doing?
What does it look like, Thomas?
What do you do every day?
Clean the dishes.
Yeah.
At this time. It's a bit late. Isn't it?
Some days I forget he's even in a wheelchair. You know, we're that used to it now. Next year now, please God, he'll be in Leave and Start. Because his brain's torn.
Mind your piggies.
When he went into the wheelchair first, he became an introvert. I mean, he didn't want to go out because he felt people were looking at him too much. And then suddenly we discovered this power soccer. And since that, he's become a new man. He's come out of himself.
Keane keeps it alive. No, he doesn't. It's a goal kick.
It's just like normal soccer. It's just in a wheelchair. Trim, it's not really wheelchair accessible, so can't really go to many places or that. In Limerick, there's a big hall and it's all accessible.
To play power soccer, Tom regularly makes a 500-kilometre round trip from Trim to Limerick. His father bought and drives Tom in a customised van paid for from savings. The €104 mobility allowance each month helps cover the €70 diesel for each journey.
We knew from a long time ago that Tom was going to be in a wheelchair, so we had a nest egg. We bought the van for $42,000.
Thompson and then Neil just behind the back.
Hoping to get onto the under-18s Irish team. And if we got onto that, you go over to France for a World Cup.
I love science fiction and Star Wars, but I don't think my missus likes it as much.
Come on now.
Paul and Frances Butler live in Cork City.
Boo, come on.
Paul works from home as a graphic designer. He also has muscular dystrophy.
I was walking up to the age of 12. Medical people said to my parents, yeah, no, you know, make the best of it, he'll be lucky if he gets to his 18th or 19th. I'm in my 38th year now.
And we've been married for 13 years. And we met in 98. I was working for a Centre for Independent Living. One day my boss asked Paul to come in and give a class. He said that was it, he loved me. There was a goldfish if no one did die to be here for a while yet.
Frances has Friedrich's ataxia. Today she has an appointment with her physio.
I've got limited mobility, but Frances has a lot more mobility. So it's vitally important that she's able to get the exercise and the physiotherapy that she needs.
2 years ago, the Butlers borrowed €50,000 to buy a van that can take 2 wheelchairs. Their combined monthly mobility allowance of €400 goes towards paying off the loan. So far, they've cleared $5,000 of the debt.
One of the catalysts in the whole thing was that we knew that, be it 15, 20 years, our mobility allowance, we could pay bit by bit to help pay off that loan. We depend on it.
Hello, fantastic. James speaking.
See you later.
Many people claiming the mobility allowance cannot afford the high cost of a customised van. For those, a taxi option may be available.
I'm heading up to Cabra now to pick up a young lady who's heading into the city centre for work.
Vantastic is one of several transport companies across Ireland partly funded by the government.
I haven't seen you for a while, have I?
Yeah.
Last year, Vantastic received €800,000. In return, they offer subsidised transport to 500 customers per week.
You're getting yourself around, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm saving one place for two.
We've got something like 20 vans on the road.
Now, Laura.
There's no money changes hands. When people use Vantastic, they get an invoice at the end of the month. It's a non-profit organisation, so that money then, it could go on vans and maintenance. It comes back into the system.
I work at a recycling centre called Sunflower Recycling, and I'm basically in charge of all the administration and reception duties. I get my disability allowance, but because I work on a C scheme, I took a slight cut. Between the two, I would be going out with about $350 a week. I do it to get out, and also it's nice to have an extra income coming in.
The situation now is we find ourselves in is that the funding has been reduced considerably. 2009 to the present day, 184,000 was taken out of our funding by the government. So we have to find that money elsewhere to keep the business going.
Like, public transport is great, it's definitely come a long way, but you're not guaranteed the bus when you need it. It's only one wheelchair at a time, and basically if there's somebody already on, you have to wait for another one to come along. I need to be in work for 9 o'clock in the morning, so I need a guarantee. See you later, Tony.
And don't work too hard.
I won't.
Be good. Bye.
Bye. See you later.